Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Kendall, and this week we've got our final in the series for our bunnies and blooms. So along this week we'll have a look at our inner and outer borders, as well as the film strip border. And the inner, outer, and the little part make the film strip complete. I did not hear from Jillian at all about her prize pack, so I am actually going to do a redraw for this final video. If you are drawn out and you are watching, I need you to contact me via contact@quiltingbasics.com.au so that I can organise to get that prize to you. But once again, if you are drawn out as the new winner, you need to contact me on the email address contact@quiltingbasics.com.au so that I can organise to get you that prize. So without much further ado, let's pick another winner. So as you can see here, we've got the prize pack at the top there. So it's everything you need to make the top for the pattern there, which is from Cluck Cluck So called Celebrate. I'm going to press the little start button now and let's see who we've got. Okay, YouTube user so-and-so, you have been selected as our new winner for that prize giveaway for this sew-along. So, as I said, you need to contact me contact@quiltingbasics.com.au to organise getting that prize to you. Without much further ado, folks, let's get on to our borders, including our film strip. Grab your pattern, grab your favourite beverage, come with me, and I'll show you how I do it. For this week, and those of you making the wall hanging, I have created another cutting sheet that I'll link to on my Google Drive in the description below for just the wall hanging requirements for your sashing and borders. And as I said in last week's video, I've decided to include the film strip border on this one. So I've just got all the pieces and parts cut out there. Now S is the same as the main pattern for the full quilt, but instead of requiring 8, I think it is, you only need 1, and that is 26.5 inches by 2.5. So each block, once you've got your bunny, your little bit of sashing and a bloom connected, is 26 inches by 10 inches finished. So this piece of sashing just goes in between your 2 rows in this instance for the wall hanging. And what I like to do for my sashing and all my borders is find the center of the fabric, like the piece that I'm putting the sashing onto, or the quilt top if it's a border. If you have a long border like a full quilt, you would also do that once again in another half, so dividing the quilt top into quarters. You then pin the center in place and pin each end in place, and then you can ease that quilt top underneath in. Now if it's too much of a variation, you will get really wavy borders, but I have found that with all my measurements and everything, and I'm happy with the way that I sew, that so long as I find the middle or in quarters, depending on the size of the project, and pin like this, I can just ease that bunny and blooms in under the sashing if it's too long, or if it is too short, you can just stretch it out that little bit. Sometimes I cut my sashing and borders from length of fabric rather than width of fabric, so I don't have to have any seams, but that's only if I have enough to do so. In those instances, you don't have any stretch at all on your sashing pieces or border pieces, so it's a bit more of a struggle. But as I said, as long as you put the larger piece on the bottom, your feed dogs will actually ease all of that in, and it will reduce the likelihood of you having wavy sashing or waving borders. So we've just pinned that on this first one, and we'll take it to the machine and sew our 1/4 inch, and then we'll repeat that to join our top block on, and then we'll get to the film strip border. Just while we're watching through this bit, folks, if you are doing the full quilt, you'll need to take 2 of your S pieces and join them together with 1 of the 2.5-inch squares for one of the fabrics from the quilt to make a full length of 54 inches, and then put those in between each of your rows where you've joined 2 lots of bunnies with 1 extra piece of sashing. As you would have seen there from the footage, in both instances we press towards the sashing. We're now going to put our first little inner border on, which finishes at 1 inch, so the pieces are cut at 1.5. Now, for a film strip border, you need to have a finished quilt top, or whatever you'd like to call it, that is divisible by 2 on all 4 sides. And what we have here is a quilt top that measures 26 inches across and 22 inches down. So that is divisible by 2. We're going to add 1 inch to either side, which gives us an extra 2 inches on the width and 2 inches on the length. So that still leaves it as divisible by 2. The same as we did for the sashing, for all borders, you find as many centers as you like, whether that's just the 1 because this is a short piece, or 4 or 6, and then you pin on those sections, including the start and the end, and then your feed dogs will help you ease in everything else that's underneath, and you will avoid wavy borders. If you are working with a large quilt, it's best to measure it in 3 places and take the average of those 3 for the lengths of your border strips. In this instance though, trust my measurements and trust your own sewing, and you should be able to cut them exactly as they are in the pattern. And once again, as I said, use your feed dogs to feed those through. So I'm going to put all 4 of these borders on in exactly that way, finding the centers, pinning both ends, easing the central bits in, and then we'll get to making our 2.5-inch sections, which is the next part of our film strip border. After attaching the 2 side inner borders, we're now going to take 2 of our AB strips, because we do have a total of 4, and attach those to the top and the bottom in exactly the same way, pressing all the time out towards the border strips. So to create the middle bit of our film strip, we are using 2.5-inch squares, and you'll have cut 28 from your background and 28 from a variety of the colours that are in the centre of the quilt. We're just going to sew these together in sets of 2 and then sets of 4. And for the side borders, we need lots of 6, and for the outside borders, we need lots of 8. So we'll make 2 strips that have 6 each in. So 6 colors, 6 white, and we'll make 2 strips that have 8, so 8 colored squares and 8 white squares, and then we'll join them onto the center of the quilt in exactly the same way, finding our centers, pinning on each end, easing in the bits in between. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All of these parts we will press towards the darker of the 2 fabrics, so towards our colored squares. If you are making the full quilt, you'll need to make your border strips for this 2.5-inch section with 15 of each. 15 colours and 15 white squares for a total of 30 for all 4 sides. Hopefully you were able to keep up through that long and musical interlude. But as I said, we just needed to make 2 lots of 6 and 2 lots of 8 for our sides and our top and bottom. I did make a little error and I actually put 7 on the side pieces. My 8s were correct. And you'll see that here when I'm trying to line it up, it goes over and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just unpick that off. And I did that for both strips. So make sure that you have 2 sets of 6 and 2 sets of 8. The sets of 6 go on either side and we'll press in towards that inner border. And then we will put the sets of 8 on the top and the bottom. And they again too will get pressed in towards the border, the inner border strip. And to do this, we find our centers, we pin both our ends, and then we ease in the parts in between. Because we pressed to the darker of the 2 fabrics in all instances, I just have got a pin at each intersection just to make sure that we're nice and even. So I'll speed through all of this again, attaching these 4 borders, and I'll meet you back when that's done. With all of our pressing now done, we just need to take our remaining border pieces, which are the 2 remaining AB pieces which go on the side of this, and our AD strips which are for the top and the bottom. I'm going to do those off camera because it is just a matter of wash, rinse, repeat. Find the center, find the ends, ease in the bits in between. Now that we have those 4 final borders on, we have completed our film strip for our film strip border. Hopefully you can take that away and apply that to any of your quilts as long as they finish being divisible by 2 on all 4 sides. So there we have it, folks. Our Bunnies and Blooms sew along is complete, but you still have time to get all of your stuff done and have your completed quilt top done. As you can see here, I've got my finished quilt that I did first and my little wall hanging that I made throughout these tutorials. With my main quilt, I am actually going to add another 4.5-inch unfinished border around the edge, but I'm waiting for the rest of the fabric to come in so that I can do that. As some of you may or may not already know, I created a little Facebook group for us to post our progress of the sew along. So if you'd like to join me there, it's just called Kendall's Quilting Corner on Facebook, but I'll put a link in the description box because I have spelt it a little bit differently. So thanks for joining me for this sew along. It's been so fun putting it together and seeing you all on the your Saturday morning, my Saturday night, for a little bit of a live chat. From here on, I'll be going back to doing the Block Wednesday videos. And as you could have seen in the beginning behind me, I already have completed a wall hanging for another sew along that Pat's doing coming up in September. So stay tuned for that one. Okay, folks, as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I'll see you all again next week.